Hinche. Kevin Chahachaktos. And my name is Kevin. This is another Mvskoke language lesson, this one on pronunciation of Mvskoke words. Mvskoke has a different sensibility to it than English, though we use here the Latin alphabet, which has been used since a couple of centuries ago for Mvskoke. There are some sounds which I think the Latin alphabet, as we use it, does not capture. But when you speak Mvskoke, it's imperative that you figure out how these things work, so that it will sound like Mvskoke and not like a kind of a garbled English. It has to sound like Mvskoke. And let me give you an example. Let me erase the board here. Take this off here. Want to deal with some sounds that really just don't exist in English at all, or barely. Here's a word, a very common word in Mvskoke. The word is to know. Here is how you spell it. You go like this. Kithlita. That's the infinitive form of the verb to know. Kithlita. Now here is the key which for me was the hardest thing to learn, and that was this sound here. Now the R sound, or the letter R, there is no R sound as we think of it in Mvskoke, but the R letter is used to a sound that sounds something like this. THL. So that Kithlita would sound something like this. Kithlita. Kithlita. But don't get too comfortable with this sound. It's kind of like the sound in the word, let me say this. It's kind of like the sound in the word fourthly. Let's take this off here. This is where one of the books, the Mvskoke books, calls the sound. Imagine this sound here sounding something like the THL sound in the word fourthly. Now here's the key which makes it sound correct in Mvskoke. You have to kind of push the air along the sides of your tongue as you speak. It makes a certain puffiness. You feel almost that your cheeks puff out to the side. So when you say a word like this, kithlita, to know, it sounds like this. Kithlita, kithlita. It's also, this word is also used when I refer to the form, we use the future tense of words. Let's say I'm going to eat in the future, and so you say something like this. Home, you have the word hompata. There you have the word. Hompathlis. Hompathlis. And it gives it a certain puffiness to the language. It gives it a very breathiness feel to Mvskoke. In English, you tend to close off the lips to interrupt the flow of air. But in Mvskoke, we do it much less so. In Spanish, we do it less so than in English. So if you know Spanish, you may be somewhat familiar with that sensibility of language. So these words in Mvskoke sound like this. You say hompathlis and kithlita. It gives it, I can't say it a softer sound, but a breathier sound. Now, if you want to kind of know what Mvskoke sounds like, since there aren't really a lot of sources out there to hear it, a way to kind of get the sensibility of it is to listen to the way certain Mexican words are said. If you know anyone who's Mexican, you very well may, ask him or her to pronounce certain words in certain place names in their homeland. Like there's a state in Mexico, it's spelled like this. And the word is Oaxaca. Oaxaca. Now, it has a Spanish spelling, but the Spanish spelling doesn't really capture the Indigenous Mexican sound. Oaxaca. There's this breathiness in that, but the X sound is used to fill in for. Mvskoke has kind of that sensibility to it. It may be related to some of the Mexican languages very well. There's clearly some cultural connections between Mexico and the southeastern United States, the pyramid culture and some other religious motifs. So clearly there could be a language connection as well. Not to say that Mvskoke came straight out of Mexico, but certainly some of his words reflect a Mexican influence. So if you have a word like Oaxaca, there's a place name in, I dealt with some people once, and I saw the name of their town in Mexico, and this I always loved the way this name sounded. It goes like this. If you can guess this pronunciation, you may know how to pronounce many Mexican words very well. The name of this town, which is in the state of Puebla, was called Ixcamilpa. Ixcamilpa. And you hear that that X in Ixcamilpa almost sounds like the Kichlita sound in Mvskoke, the double R sound. If you can kind of imagine, they sound very similar in a way. And then another word that is, you may know this one better. This is the town, I think this is the capital of the Aztecs. And I may have this not quite right. Let me get it here. Tenochtitlan. Tenochtitlan. And here, in many ways, the Spanish spelling we have of Tenochtitlan kind of captures some sounds you kind of hear in some Mvskoke words. Tenochtitlan. It's kind of a breathiness if you hear it pronounced correctly. And if you have doubts of how it's pronounced, ask someone who knows Spanish or someone especially from Mexico how to pronounce it. Tenochtitlan, and you'll have a feel for the way certain Mvskoke words are pronounced. I'll give you an example of a Mvskoke word that is similar to this. Try this one here. The word for table, very simple word. Ohumpita. Table, the thing you eat off of. And now, actually, I think there's not that first. Correct myself here. There. Ohumpita. That OH has a kind of a slightly K sound in there, but it gives it a very guttural kind of breathiness, which is kind of how you see it in the Tenochtitlan. It's almost similar to Tenochtitlan and Ohumpita, and it gives you the feel for how it feels in the throat. And Mvskoke uses, I think, more muscles of the throat and of the cheeks than does English. So you'll feel your different parts of your mouth getting exercised differently as you speak Mvskoke. But I love the way these sound. I love the way a lot of the traditional Mexican place names sound. Tenochtitlan and in the Mvskoke, Ohumpita. And this is just a guide for some of the words that I think are harder for native English speakers to do when they first are trying to learn Mvskoke. So I hope this language has been helpful for some pronunciation of some of the Mvskoke words, which are kind of harder, I think, for first English speakers. But they make, when you speak these sounds in Mvskoke, you really get the feeling you are speaking a different language. You feel like you have kind of become kind of submerged in it, that it's really coming and flowing from you as you feel your own body, your own mouth and muscles wrap itself around Mvskoke. They become changed by the language. It's not just the language is coming out of them. The language transforms the speaker as well. So just to part ways, here's these two words to try, Ohumpita and Tenochtitlan and Ixcamilpa and Kichlita and Hompatlis. These are just some words we went over. You can, of course, rewind the tape and go over them. And these might be helpful for other words in Mvskoke which use these same letters and symbols. Until next time, Chihichatlis.